Some pop albums don't just dominate for a season, they last years, with multiple singles, extended tours, and a cultural presence that refuses to fade. In this video, we'll look at 8 of the longest lasting album eras in pop music. The self-titled era by Dua Lipa. Dua Lipa's self-titled debut album cycle is one of the longest modern-day pop rollouts. The era unofficially began in 2015 with the release of her early singles New Love and Be The One. By 2016, she doubled down with tracks like Last Dance, Hotter Than Hell, and Blow Your Mind, being released as singles and slowly building her fan base while delaying the release date of her debut album. This slow burn worked in her favor. It kept her in conversation for years before the actual album dropped in June 2017. Once her self-titled album finally arrived, it was clear that the wait paid off. The album spawned a string of hits, most notably IDGAF and the global smash New Rules, which became her signature song and going on to peak at number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100 thanks to its empowering message and iconic music video. Dua capitalized on that momentum by releasing multiple music videos and extending the lifespan of the project. The era's final chapter came in 2018 with the release of One Kiss with Calvin Harris and the complete edition of the album, which included all her successful features at the time, like Electricity, Scared to Be Lonely, and No Lie. By the time Dua wrapped up her world tour and promotional cycle, she had been actively promoting the same album for more than 3 years, before moving on to the future nostalgia era. The Teenage Dream Era by Katy Perry. Katy Perry's Teenage Dream era is the most legendary in modern pop history when it comes to longevity and chart dominance. It kicked off in May 2010 with the release of California Girls featuring Snoop Dogg, a summer anthem that set the tone for what was to come. The album itself dropped in August 2010, spawning a historic run of singles: Teenage Dream, Firework, Last Friday Night, in addition to California Girls, with all 5 hitting number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, tying Michael Jackson's record for the most chart toppers from a single album. But rather than moving on quickly to a new project, Katy doubled down on the album's success. In 2012, she reissued it as Teenage Dream: The Complete Confection, adding new tracks like Part of Me and Wide Awake, which hit number 1 and number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. This move extended the era by another year, keeping her in heavy rotation on radio. Her world tour, the California Dreams Tour, spanned from early 2011 to 2012, selling out arenas worldwide and further cementing her dominance. By the time the Teenage Dream era finally ended in 2013 with the release of Roar as the lead single from her next album Prism, Katy had been promoting Teenage Dream and its extensions for over 3 years. The Come On Over era by Shania Twain. Shania Twain's Come On Over wasn't just a best-selling country pop crossover, it became a global phenomenon that lasted for over 3 years. Released in November 1997, the album spawned 12 singles, which kept the project alive for a long time. Early releases like Love Gets Me Every Time and Don't Be Stupid dominated country radio, but it was You're Still the One in 1998 that took Shania global, hitting number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 and earning her 2 Grammy Awards. The hits kept coming, with From This Moment On, That Don't Impress Me Much, and Man, I Feel Like a Woman, each becoming massive hits. The album's longevity was fueled by its versatility, as multiple versions were recorded for different markets. Shania strategically spaced out singles every few months, ensuring she got constant radio presence well into the year 2000. By the end of its run, Come On Over had sold over 40 million copies worldwide, becoming the best-selling country album ever and the second best-selling album by a female artist in history. The promotional cycle included the massive Come On Over tour, which went on from 1998 to the end of 1999, grossing $140 million in today's money. Even after the tour ended, Shania kept performing the songs from the album on TV specials and award shows. The era officially closed in 2000, with the last single I'm Holding On to Love, making Come On Over an era that lasted for more than 3 years. Whitney Houston's self-titled era. When Whitney Houston released her self-titled debut album on February 14, 1985, few could have predicted that it would become one of the most commercially dominant album eras in pop history. The era stretched over 2.5 years. It started in 1984 with her duet Hold On which peaked at number 46 on the Hot 100. Then, You Give Good Love followed in February 1985 and became an instant hit, peaking at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. This warm reception paved the way for Whitney's global breakthrough with the single Saving All My Love for You, which went to number 1 in the US. It won her first Grammy Award. The third single, How Will I Know, released in late 1985, became a massive crossover success, topping the Billboard Hot 100 and securing Whitney's image as a pop superstar, which was unheard of for a black female artist at the time. By the time the seventh single, Greatest Love of All, was released in March 1986, Whitney was breaking records. The song also went to number 1, making her the first new artist in history to have 3 number 1 singles from one album. The album kept selling steadily through 1986 because of her award wins and televised performances. The Whitney Houston World Tour extended the era's lifespan even further. The album eventually sold over 25 million copies worldwide, spending 14 weeks on number 1 on the Billboard 200. By the time the era officially ended in mid-1987, Whitney had become a global superstar. The Bad Era by Michael Jackson. When Michael Jackson released Bad on August 31, 1987, the world was already expecting a blockbuster. After the huge success of Thriller, MJ not only delivered, he redefined the impact the pop era could have. The album spawned 9 singles, even though it only had 11 songs on the track list, with I Just Can't Stop Loving You, Bad, The Way You Make Me Feel, Man in the Mirror, Dirty Diana, and Smooth Criminal, all hitting the top 10, and 5 of them reaching the top of the Billboard Hot 100, setting a record that still stands. The promotional cycle continued when MJ went on the Bad Tour, which began in September 1987 and ran until January 1989, becoming the highest grossing tour of the 80s, selling around 4.5 million tickets. By the time the Bad Era wrapped, the album was a historic commercial success, with over 35 million copies sold worldwide. The era lasted for more than 2 years, proving that Michael could dominate pop culture for a long time without losing momentum. The When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go era by Billie Eilish. Billie Eilish's debut studio album, When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go, released on March 29, 2019, became a generation's soundtrack. The rollout actually began in July 2018 with the release of You Should See Me in a Crown, followed by When the Party's Over, Bury a Friend, and Wish You Were Gay. But it was Bad Guy, released as a single in March 2019, that exploded into a global phenomenon, topping the Billboard Hot 100 and earning multiple Grammy Awards. Billie's promotional cycle spanned multiple years. She embarked on the When We All Fall Asleep World Tour in April 2019, before COVID-19 forced cancellations in 2020. Despite this, the era continued, with the last single from the album, Ilo Milo, coming in April 10, 2020. Later that year, she released Therefore I Am and My Future, which ended the era as she moved on to Happier Than Ever. By the end of the When We All Fall Asleep era, Billie had become a global superstar, collected 7 Grammy Awards, and maintained public attention for over 3 years. The Janet Era by Janet Jackson. When Janet Jackson released her 5th studio album, Janet, on May 18, 1993, she went on one of the longest and most successful runs in pop history. The album's lead single, That's the Way Love Goes, became a global hit, topping the Billboard Hot 100 for 8 weeks. Over the next 2 years, she released an impressive string of singles: If, Again, Because of Love, Anytime, Anyplace, and You Want This, each sustaining momentum and keeping the album on the charts. It went on to spawn 6 top 10 singles on the Hot 100, which was historic. The Janet era was further extended by the World Tour, which went on until 1995. Her choreography and stage presence made the tour a must-see event, helping the album sell over 14 million copies worldwide. The music videos for each single became MTV staples, keeping the album alive for a long time. By the time the album era concluded in late 1995, more than 2 years after its initial release, it had left a huge cultural imprint. Few pop stars have managed to stretch an album's relevance that long without releasing a follow-up, cementing Janet as a gold standard for album era longevity. The Tragic Kingdom Era by No Doubt. Released on October 10, 1995, Tragic Kingdom by No Doubt was a slow-burning success, that became one of the longest album eras. The lead single Just a Girl became a breakout hit in late 1995, introducing Gwen Stefani's unmistakable voice to the mainstream. But the album truly exploded with the release of Spiderwebs, and especially Don't Speak in 1996, which went on to spend 16 weeks on the airplay chart. Instead of rushing to a follow-up, the band strategically rolled out more singles over time, including Excuse Me Mister and Sunday Morning, extending the project's life well into 1998. The band's relentless touring schedule was a key factor for the era's longevity. No Doubt spent years on the road before the Tragic Kingdom World Tour from 1997 to 1998, which kept them in the public eye. The slow build helped the album sell over 60 million copies worldwide, turning it into one of the defining albums of that era. By the time the Tragic Kingdom cycle ended in late 1998, 3 years after its initial release, No Doubt had transitioned from indie darlings to global superstars. Which of the longest lasting eras in pop music did I miss? Tell me in the comments below.